I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board to order. I believe our posted agenda stands as posted. And I'd like to ask for a motion to approve our meeting notes from Jim.
So moved, Michael.
And a second.
Second.
And we had Sharon, and who's the second?
Edna.
No,
Edna,
wasn't
thank
me.
you. Oh, all right.
I made the motion. Melanie.
Okay, thank you. We have to identify ourselves so that Gretchen can make sure she gets the names down. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I hope you've all had an opportunity to read the November 16th minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the November 16th minutes.
So
So
moved.
moved, Sharon.
Second,
Second, Kathy.
thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very well. In terms of correspondence and announcements, don't know that there's much I have to say here. I guess the one thing I would just mention is there's been some question about where our Grassmere review stands. At this point, to my knowledge, we're still waiting for a response to the letter that our planner and lawyer put together and waiting for an actual application with the new features and whatnot presented to us so that we can circulate to the other involved agencies. We need the information about what DOT has to deal with, what the Department of Health has to deal with, and DEC, so we can get that information to them so that they can start to work on that, so that they can work through their permitting processes, so that we can get all that done, all of that which we require before we can, give final approval to the plan. So we're still in somewhat of a holding position at this point on that particular application. Other than that, I have nothing else to add. Does anyone else have anything to add at this point?
No.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Michael.
hearing nothing.
This is Andy Didio. Are you speaking about the middle project?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, not yet.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We will
Okay.
be. We will be directly.
All right, great. Sorry.
Looks like it's it looks like it's 6:35 to me. So since we don't have any other correspondence or announcements, we'll go to our first public hearing, and that's the Cal-Metal 12468 Corporation Site Plan Review Pool House, and Garage. So Andy, you're on. Or not.
Okay. Oh, I'm here. Sorry. Good evening, Andy Didio with Taconic Engineering. We're back to provide an updated site plan, and I believe you folks are in receipt of the updated site plan, updated. Start my video. Yeah. There's the updated site plan. Yep. As well as updated landscape architecture and a 3D architectural rendering. So since our last meeting, we had the site visit with Michael Melody, and we discussed some of the additions to the site plan that we wanted to see, that the board wanted to see. We also met with the health department to discuss their involvement if we were to put a bathroom in the pool house. Subsequent to meeting with the Department of Health, having kind of some additional discussions with Dave Pearson and the site challenges, the applicant decided to remove the proposed bathroom in the pool house. So there won't be any revision to exterior plumbing or the existing septic system. So that'll all remain as is. An additional change was we reviewed the location of the proposed garage, and that was shifted away from the bank. There was discussion on site about trying to move it further forward to save some of the trees and keep it from having to be excavated down the hill somewhat. So it was shifted southwest 5 feet, which gets us out onto level ground, eliminate some of the tree removal, and we cut a section through the building and the hillside that shows that both from a structural perspective from our side on the design side, but also from a kind of a site work side, we won't need to excavate down into the bank. We'll be up on flat ground for a conventional frost wall foundation. Same goes for the pool house. We cut a section through that hillside perpendicular to the contours, and we're well outside any kind of failure plane, if you will. So it won't require any excavation down the bank. Additional items added to the plan, and the 5-foot shift really was kind of the maximum we could get with the driveway placement and making maneuverability in the parking court feasible, which turned out to be sufficient really to get up on the flat ground. Other items that were added were, Michael, you had mentioned the roof leader drains that daylight on the hillside. Those were added to the plan, showing that drainage and where those existing as in already installed, as well as any proposed roof leader daylights, which also includes, after speaking with Ray Jurkowski, because of the creation of roofed structures, we propose to tie the roof leaders into 2 rain gardens, one of which is along the north, not property boundary, but north hillside, top of hillside behind the basketball court. And I believe you should see that in the landscape plan, lighting and landscape plan, which I think is probably the next sheet.
I
102.
think this is the
that's-
old site
the-
plan because it still shows,
Yeah, that's the old site plan.
yeah, this is the old one, I think.
Yep, the new one will have a revision date of 11/20.
Okay. Well, I know that was sent out to us, so I believe we've all had an opportunity to see the new one, because I know you did send that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked kind of sparse to me, that plan.
Not sure. I have a couple files here. I can see if it's one of the other ones here.
Looks like it may have been submitted on or around the 24th, 23rd, 24th. I know it went to Ray Jurkowski on the 24th.
Is this isn't it?
That is it. Yep, that's a new one. There it is.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So yeah, you can see on this one specifically, the barn or the garage location with that shift, it gets it up on the flat, which that previous one, it appeared that it didn't. But yeah, we're up on the flat with the garage. You can see how it cut into the driveway parking court a little bit. And really a shift any further would require a kind of a significant grade change and rerouting of the driveway. So you can see on the north, and I don't know if I have the ability to point, but behind the basketball court, there's a long strip of what will be rain garden area, just inside the tree line. And then there's that detail that shows the ponding depth, and that was sized to manage and house the entire 10-year storm. So the full channel protection volume. So which is in the neighborhood of 5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. And then to the south, near the pool house, the rain garden is integrated into the kind of plantings. Yep, there you go. Around the pool house patio area. So it's almost a planted garden, but it'll act as the rain garden. So the roof leaders are directed there. There is a catch basin out front just to keep, to allow water from out in the parking court area. Just to the west of that, near the corner of the parking court, there is a small yard drain there that would daylight to the hillside. And that's just kind of standard site drainage. Yep. I think from a site plan perspective, we updated our area of disturbance. Again, those roof leaders are shown, and the pool house. One minor thing, which Dale can chime in, but we did shift the spa, the proposed hot tub, to the pool. That was just a minor site change, no real implications otherwise.
Okay. Any questions for Andy from members of the planning board? I guess the only question I have, Andy, have you run this by Dave Pearson down at Health Department so that he knows that you've removed the bathroom from the pool house?
I did, yeah. He and I had subsequent discussions about even just how the process would work if we were to try and do trying to think about various options that we had, and we really kind of came to the conclusion that it just doesn't accommodate the wash closet. So removing, he said, yeah, their involvement goes away because there's no exterior plumbing. We even talked
Okay.
about trying to route it through the house so that we didn't need septic tanks and pump chambers and all that. And he said, no, any exterior plumbing modifications includes their involvement. So the applicant just unfortunately decided that they had to take it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dave's on board.
Any other questions from members of the planning board?
I don't know if you want to flip to, I think the other items that you were looking for were the, you could flip to the landscape plan. It's just updated commensurate to the
Okay.
site plan revisions.
Yeah, well, let's have a look.
Is that the right one? I don't think that's the
I
right
don't
one.
think so.
No, that's the older one.
Nope. Sorry, I have like a whole bunch of files for you
That
guys.
one, while you've got it open, I may as well show that one is the sections that we cut through the garage and the pool house, and it just shows the conventional foundation depth, and then the dashed lines are your 45 and your 30 degree kind of failure planes, if you will, depending on the soil type. So you can see that the hillside's not impacted, and we don't have to excavate down into the bank of those structures.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Oops.
Excuse me.
Okay, I think I have the right set now. Is this the sheet? Or a different one?
That looks to be right.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, this one says landscape plan.
Yep. So this just kind of calls out your material selection, also incorporates and shows the rain garden locations. Some additional tree plantings on the backside of the garage. And again, it kind of goes hand in hand with the site plan. Includes some of the drainage structures, that catch basin out front, that sort of thing. So it's more of the surface selection than anything else, the material selection.
Andy, it looks like it's still showing outdoor shower on this plan.
Let's see.
Is that right? Am I misreading something?
I'm not seeing that. I see.
Oh,
Right there with it.
It's the interior bathroom that we removed. We would still keep the outdoor shower.
Okay, that's okay with the health department?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes, that wouldn't be plumbed to the septic or anything, so that's totally fine.
It would be a rinsing shower. Basically, once you get out of the pool, it's not a you know, a lather up soap shower. It's a not unlike you have at you know, the outdoor showers that you see at public pool facilities. It's just a rinse off, kind of chlorine out of your hair type thing. It's not an actual shower. So it just runs over land. It's not a plumbed shower.
Any other questions for Andy?
I think the one last item would be, before we finish up, would be the rendering that Melissa provided.
I don't know if you have the architectural drawings there.
I'm not sure.
It's labeled as pull tab design.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had talked about when we were standing out by the road looking in toward the site was a rendering that showed some of the trees and what the actual look of the site would be from the roadway with the existing and proposed trees. And so you can see, or not see, I should maybe say, is the garage kind of tucked against the left. And it shows how it really is kind of obscured by the tree line on the left. And then the house is partially obscured as well from the existing trees that are there. There's a pine tree and those deciduous trees. So that was one of the items that you requested, want to be able to provide that. And then there's an additional sheet that shows just the elevations without any of the landscaping to give you a sense of scale. Again, it's not how it would really look, but that's that's kind of the color renderings and architectural rendering so you can see what's there. And then I think you had that before. The additional sheets beyond that are just the actual architectural elevations of material selection, and then the sample sheet showing the colors.
Yeah, that second sheet with the rendering from the road is really the new one showing that's the new information.
On this one, the existing trees have been eliminated just to sort of show, as you say, just give an idea of what it looks like without the trees in place, but to give a sense of scale.
That other rendering, that's true, but this right, so that rendering is kind of showing it without the trees, just to focus on the architecture. But the rendering that we were looking at previously from Mill Road, those two trees or few trees that are in the front there are actually existing, and that's really kind of the view of what it will look like.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from the planning board? Jim, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment?
Give it a second and see if anyone sends me a chat or raises their hand, turns on their mic, if anyone wants to comment. All right, Michael, I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. Well, in that case, could I hear a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved, Edna.
Second,
Second,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Very good. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, I have a resolution here.
Michael, I
Town of
think
Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows. On the action by Nikhil and Pritha Mittal for site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125 for construction of a detached garage, basketball court, pool house, pool fence, screen porch, patio and fire pit, parking court, and other associated site improvements at 473-475 Mill Road within the RA10 Rural Ag zoning district. We reaffirm the proposed action is type 2 under seeker, and based upon the review of submitted information, including reports from planning board members and CAB WAC members on their site visit to the project property, find that the proposed work is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 125. With respect to the application for site plan approval, we find the proposed work and intended use to be consistent with Town Code Chapter 125, Section 12575, and approve the application inclusive of the application materials and plans by Taconic Engineering, DPC, dated September 14th, 2020. Is that the latest submissions we have from Taconic, Andy?
I'm sorry, what was the date, Michael?
September 14th?
No, Michael, I think I'm gonna have to update that date. And I think we also have to add a comment that this will be subject to county health approval for the septic.
Okay.
No, county health approval would not be involved because we don't have any outdoor plumbing or sewer bathroom connection.
Oh, so you're okay as is, no approvals needed. Okay.
That's
All right,
correct.
never mind.
Yep.
Then
Yep.
in that case, I just have to, I think, update the dates for you, Michael, on the plans.
Okay. Okay, well, what we want is the current date that Andy submitted to us and that we discussed tonight, the site plan, landscaping and whatnot. That'll be the dated material. We authorize the planning board chair to stamp and sign the above cited site plan upon the applicant's satisfaction of below conditions and/or requirements within 6 calendar months of the adoption of this resolution. Submission of the above cited site plan in the form and number specified within Town Code Chapter 125, Section 12578B. Payment of any outstanding fees and/or reimbursable amounts due the town of Rhinebeck related to renewing, review, and processing of applications subject to this resolution, and receipt of all approvals, authorizations, or certifications required herein or from any other town, county, state, or other agency as required to undertake the proposed actions. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved, Edna.
Second, Kathy.
Second.
Michael, are you there?
I think I'm here. My unstable connection just unstabilized.
And now you're back.
Did I get a motion to approve?
Yes.
Edna, thank you. A second?
Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, before we all go away, I'd like to poll the board. Kathy,
Aye.
Edna?
Aye.
Actually, wait a minute. Did I did, yes. Thank you. Sharon,
Aye.
Delise,
Aye.
Melody,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So before this dies again, your application has been approved. So as soon as you get stuff to me to stamp and sign, you can get the necessary building permits.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Just to save me checking that section of the code, how many hard copies do you guys keep?
I'll send you
Usually, I
an
think
email.
we only need 3 large copies, one for the building department, one for our file, and then generally one for you
Mhm.
as the applicant.
Okay.
Michael, I'll send out an email.
Thanks,
With all the
Gretchen.
Okay, thank you,
information.
Gretchen.
Awesome.
Yeah, Gretchen will have the correct information because Lord only knows if I gave you the right information.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very
Hap-
welcome. Good
Happy
luck.
holidays.
Thank you. Have a good
holidays.
night.
Thank you, planning board.
Take care. Okay, our next public hearing is for Frank Pinto on Way Road for the site plan, special use permit and wetland permit. And I believe we have received a request to continue the public hearing to January 4th, as they're still working with their engineer to get the proper engineering drawings to us for the expansion of their septic system. So I believe that's correct. So if I could have hear a motion to continue this public hearing to January 4th at 6:35 PM.
It's gonna be 6:50, Michael.
Up 6:50 PM. Thank you, Gretchen. Don't all speak at once.
I move that we continue that to January 4th.
Thank you, Edna. Second?
Second, Melody.
Thank you, Melody. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, our final public hearing for tonight is Aaron Mulligan, 402 Pasco Center Road, site plan and special use permit for a privacy fence. Are they here to present?
Yes, Michael, I believe so. Let me scan through. I'm getting them online as we speak.
Can
you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. This is Jeffrey Mulligan. I'm here.
Okay. What we were waiting for at our previous meeting was for the zoning board of appeals to act on your application for the variance to allow the 6-foot fence on the two facing portions of your property. And I believe they did grant the resolution on November 18th, 2020, granting the 2-foot height variance for fencing along Pasco Center Street and Pasco Beach Drive. They also included the following requirement that the planning board is required to follow. And I'll read this into the record. The granting of these variances are expressly contingent upon the following. The plantings as illustrated in the plan shall be installed and maintained along the outer fence, including the planting of grasses, dogwoods, forsythia, and lilacs. The ZBA defers to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board for any additional requirements to plantings and landscaping they may require, should they approve the applicant's request for a special use permit. Final landscaping and planting plans shall be attached to this resolution as part of this contingency. These plantings are to be maintained and kept in good condition. So that's where we stand at this point. Have you prepared, subject to the resolution from the Zoning Board of Appeals, a planting plan that we can append to both their approval resolution and an approval resolution from this planning board?
Nothing beyond what's already been submitted.
Okay. Well, I think, do we have a copy, Jim, of what we already have?
We're looking at it.
Sorry, it should be up on the screen
Well,
right now.
that's- okay. Well, that's the fence, but that's okay. I think if you can sort of move this one along, Jim, so we can sort of, okay.
So these were the planting drawings that we were provided, and then we have the plan packet that was submitted with the outline of where the fence would go, and then the renderings of what it would look like.
Okay.
I believe that's everything
So
that's
what
been
we think-
submitted.
Okay. Well, given what the ZBA is saying, they were referring to including grasses, dogwoods, forsythia, and lilacs. Is that what these, what the drawing, the planting drawing is showing? Are those plant species?
Correct.
I'm sorry. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Because what I will have to do is when I get your final site plan for me to stamp and sign, is put a list with it of the plants and probably also a screen capture if possible of your planting plan here to include with that. And I think in order to satisfy the zoning board of appeals requirement that they placed in here on us. Do you have any questions about the plants that they're speaking about?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, not at this time. I guess one question I do have. So if we go back to the conversation at the last meeting, since we have the 6-foot height variance set, if we go to a I guess I don't know what the word is, the words eluding me. If we go with the gap between the fencing,
Mm-hmm.
so we then no longer then would have to do any of this landscaping on the outside, correct?
No,
Well, if you went to that, you won't have to come before the planning board, but you would probably have to ask for a clarification from the ZBA, since they made the plantings as a requirement for granting the variance for the 6-foot fence. They didn't speak to the non-see-through fence. They just spoke to the 6-foot, the adding the 2 feet to the height of your fence,
Well,
and then put this requirement in here.
what we went in front of the zoning board had nothing to do with what type of fencing we were putting up. It was the height.
I agree, but they did put this requirement in here. As they say, it's expressly contingent upon the following, and that's the plantings that are here.
Right, but
So,
if we pull
if you were-
the special use permit from the planning board, then it's not contingent on anything, I would assume, correct?
that's
They
not,
only ruled on the 2-foot extension. They didn't rule on whether or not, because it wasn't in their purview to rule on whether or not it would be a see-through or a non-see-through fence. So
Right,
you're
right.
gonna
No,
have to
I
probably-
understand that.
Jeff,
what
are you
I'm
saying if you put in a fence that's consistent with the current code, so it wouldn't require the variance or a special use permit? You're saying if you put in like a 4-foot fence that was the right setback?
No,
that the
no,
question?
no, I would still put up a 6-foot fence, but then I would meet the requirements that it wouldn't be a solid fence.
You still need the height requirement variance.
I
from
got that already, though.
ZBA.
You
Right,
got the variance, but the zoning board of appeals attached this requirement to giving the variance, and they didn't specify whether it was a solid fence or a non-solid fence. So at the very least, what you would do if you were to go to a non-solid fence, you would no longer need anything from the planning board. But you would need to get, at least talking to the zoning enforcement officer, whether or not the requirement for the plantings could be deleted from the granting of the variance by the zoning board of appeals. They didn't make it contingent upon a solid or a non-solid fence. They just made the planting contingent upon them granting the 2-foot height extension. And that's something that you may have to go back to the zoning board of appeals and just ask for a clarification, particularly if you're going to go for the non-solid fence. You would not require any planning board application, any planning board procedure whatsoever. And in that case, it would be up to them to decide whether or not the planting that they require in granting you the variance would still be required. But that's not something the planning board can deal with, because the ZBA is the one that granted the variance and attached this requirement to it.
Okay.
Would you like us to
Not sure
hold
what that
off
means,
on
yeah.
this application so that you can find out from the ZBA whether if you go to the non-solid fence, you do not have to do the plantings, in which case you don't need any approvals from the planning board?
I'm just trying to think based
Because
upon the
if
meeting
we-
that we had.
The thing is, if we approve this tonight, we're approving a solid fence, we're also approving the plantings. Now, you'd still face the same situation if you went to the non-solid fence. Did the ZBA, 'cause they didn't speak to whether it's a solid or a non-solid fence, or if they did, if they said if it's a solid fence that the planning board approves, you need to do the plantings. If they had said if it's a non-solid fence that we are granting the variance for, you do not need to do the plantings, but they didn't do that. They just said the plantings, if the planning board approves something, the plantings must be there as part of their approval. So you just need to get a clarification of if it's no longer a situation where the planning board has to grant an approval, do the plantings still have to be placed in front of a 6-foot fence that's not a solid fence? And that's a decision by the zoning enforcement officer at the least, and possibly even by the ZBA. Something to straighten out with them.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, let's then extend it so I can go and talk to them.
Okay. Gretchen, can we continue this until, how about January 4th to make sure you get a chance to talk to them?
If I get an answer from them
Okay.
beforehand, should I then reach out to you, Michael, and so then we can pull it from the January 4th meeting, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If the zoning board of appeals says if you're doing a non-solid fence, you don't have to do the plantings, then let me know and we'll take you off the agenda because you won't need to be before us.
Got it. Understood.
I can schedule it, Michael. I was just curious. Is it gonna hurt anything if they were to just get this approved and then change it up based upon what the ZBA says? Because there's no other
That's a-
fees or anything else. It's just signing the plans.
Right.
Right.
You know,
So-
I honestly don't know.
May
I'm
I
just
say-
afraid if we approve it,
Michael, may I say something?
yes,
Something that doesn't
absolutely.
seem to be discussed here is whether or not the planning board should approve a solid fence. I would recommend against such approval. And if it's going to be discussed, the idea of approving it, I would like an opportunity to explain why I recommend against it.
Okay, well, I guess the question here is.
That would be my
if
point, is
Jeffrey's
that
going-
we wouldn't even need to have those discussions at that point. So Edna can reserve her opinion for January 4th if that date comes.
It's fine
That's
with me,
true.
as long as everybody knows that this is not a slam dunk in terms of approval.
Oh,
No,
I'm
no,
quite
I
clear
don't
on
think
that,
we need
Edna.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, I think I think we all know that, Edna, for sure.
Well, yeah, I
Um,
mean, Edna's made that quite clear.
Well, I speak for myself. I haven't heard a lot of other opinions.
Well, at this point, we're trying to see whether or not it even has to come back before us, because if he's going for the non-solid fence, at which case it doesn't even come before the planning board. But that's something for the ZBA to decide whether or not they want to require the plantings or not. And I think if that can get straightened out, and if they say, in that case, we do not require the plantings, as it doesn't require planning board approval anymore, and granting the extension of 2 feet for the fence, for a non-solid fence, it's taken out of our hands entirely. It's whatever decision the ZBA wishes to make is entirely up to them. I guess they weren't aware of the option or whatever.
Well, the option was never presented prior to tonight.
I think we lost Michael. Oh, hold on.
I assume I'm back again.
You're back.
Well, let's just say the service from Frontier out here in the boondocks isn't all it should be. So is that understood that basically Jeff is going to go and speak to the ZBA, and we will continue this public hearing until January 4th. And then if indeed he decides to proceed with the solid fence, we will then be discussing whether or not we wish to approve a solid fence. Does that make sense?
It's fine with
Is that-
me.
Okay. What time on January 4th will we continue this to?
6:55.
6:55, okay. Could I hear a motion to continue this public hearing till January 4th at 6:55, please?
So moved, Melody.
Second?
Second, Kathy.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good, thank you. And,
Thanks.
and Jeff, make sure the ZBA understands that if you go to the non-solid fence, the planning board no longer has a role to play in any of this.
Correct, yeah. I will let them know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few new applications. The first one is Garden Homes on Route 9. It's the manufactured housing development there on the east side of Route 9, just north of Williams and all. Are they, is a representative here to present to us?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Daly. I'm in-house counsel with Garden Homes Management. Want to give you a little background on what we're doing in the mobile home park on Route 9. I'm not going to belabor the extensive history of the issues here, but we've been in litigation with the neighboring property owner for over a decade, and now have a court order that we have to do certain things within the park to move a few encroaching structures and to move the outfall of our septic system to a new location. And approximately, I think, a year and a half ago, we had discussions with the town, and the decision was made that we did not need any town approvals for this work. It had been overseen by the Department of Health, DEC, and the New York Department of Transportation, because we need to go up Route 9 with the force main. And so we proceeded with the work within the park under the oversight of the various entities, and have actually completed the majority of the work in the park. And what is left to be done is directional drilling to run the force main under Route 9, up Route 9 to the new outfall location, which is near the corner of 9 and 9G. Yep, right there. And so our neighboring property owner had challenged the decision that we didn't need town permits for some of this activity. And ultimately, literally a week after we got the permits from Department of Transportation to do the work, the ZBA issued a decision that directed that we needed to get a wetlands permit and have our stormwater pollution prevention plan approved by the town engineer. So we've submitted the plans to you folks for that, for the wetlands permit, and we've submitted the information to Mr. Drakowski for the SWIP. To give you a sense of the work we have done, we've moved part of the sand filtration system back. We added a retaining wall, added some chlorination tanks, things of that nature, all in this area that Jim has so kindly zoomed in on. So we've done all the work at the top of this picture. That work is essentially complete. There is the outfall continuing in its current location where it has been for decades. And we cannot move that until the force main is completed to get to the new location. So once the force main is complete, we'll move the pipe out from where it is and run it, basically run the effluent through the park out to Route 9 and up the shoulder on the opposite side of Route 9 from the wetlands. So we're not in the wetlands per se, we're in the setback for the final piece of the work we're doing. And if we go to the other sheet, yeah. Thanks, Jim. And if you zoom in at the end here, basically more or less where Jim has it, this is the part of the work that will occur in the setback area. Just to the right, as this picture is oriented, of utility pole 52496, which is sort of, yeah, thank you. Just to the right of that, we'll be setting a manhole and running the force main. One of the issues we ran into is the Department of Transportation. I apologize for if you can hear the sirens in the background. The Department of Transportation, the state actually thought its right of way on this road was 6 feet wider than our research showed that it was. And as a result, they lost essentially 6 feet on the side of the road we're on, which meant that we can no longer get on the other side of the cement wing wall on the culvert without going onto private property owned by a local, the Sirakas and Vaniciotis families. So we spent probably a month and a half confirming that, in fact, the right of way was narrower than the state thought. and another 2 months discussing or reaching out to the Vandakiotis and Sarakas families, as well as another entity which owns property behind the Reichert property. They own the Astor Rhinebeck Associates owns a very large property back there. We reached out to their attorneys to see if we could come up with a private easement to resolve these issues. They told us no multiple times. And we couldn't get a response from other people. So in order to preserve these 40 homes for our tenants, many of whom have been living there for 30, 40 years, we've owned the parks for about that long as well. In order to preserve their homes, we need to do this work and we need to reroute the outfall. Like I said, we've already gotten DEC, Department of Health, Department of Transportation approvals and permits. And our expectation, it's weather dependent, and obviously this time of year, that's a tough call. But with the directional boring, obviously freezing is an issue. But if the weather cooperates, our expectation is we can probably complete this project within about 4 weeks from when we finally have all of our necessary town approvals.
My understanding also is that the SWIP has already been accepted by DEC. I know that Ray's looking at it for us as well. I think the last thing I heard from him, he had didn't see any issues with it. That seeker had been satisfied for this, I think, from both DEC, DOT, and whatnot. And if I'm correct, the wetland that we're concerned with is on the south side, the east side of Route 9. And basically, there is no wetland on the west side, but there is the buffer. We do have a 100-foot buffer going from a wetland from the edge of it. And that's why the wetland permit is required to work within the buffer to put in, I guess, the manhole cover and the extension for the outfall. I think that's what we understood it to be.
That's correct.
Anyone, any questions for Brian?
I have a question.
Certainly.
Yes.
When you look at Dutchess County parcel access and you look at the wetland mapping, it looks like the fluid that will be going through the culvert and out will eventually go into the Rhinebeck Hill. Can you tell us what the quality of that water will be when it's gone through whatever processing you have?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to our engineer who's also on the call on the specifics, but as you, I'm sure, are aware, DEC has sort of standard regulations that the outfall must meet. We have to treat it. It goes through the sand filtration. It gets chlorinated. It has to get dechlorinated in order to be safe for the wildlife and all of that. And there are requirements for monitoring, which we comply with now. And essentially, we're moving it from, the water is going to flow to the same location it has been flowing for decades. We're moving it from one tributary of the Rhinebeck Hill just downstream a bit. There's no increase in volume, no real change in anything other than where the pipe actually feeds into the stream. But if you'd like specifics about the requirements, we do have our engineer also on the call, or on the meeting, I should say.
Well, I would be interested to know it. I'm sure that there are experts who have looked at it. If there are any residents tuning in, it might be of interest to them to know that what's going into the Rhinebeck Hill is going to be safe and, not polluted. Correct.
It's safe for the wildlife and it's safe for human beings, because this issue did come up. The way we resolved the issue with the DOT, they ultimately gave us permission to core through the wing wall, provided we posted a bond that if and when they need to work on that wing wall and condemn out a little bit of property to extend the right of way, that we will move the outfall. And one of their concerns was, if we have people working in the culvert, is this safe? So we provided them with all the information from DOH and DEC, and they were satisfied that this is safe, not only for the wildlife, which is obviously a preeminent concern in this area, but also for any people who might be working for the DOT in the culvert and things of that nature. But I can Let me see if I have the DEC permit handy.
Ryan, I have a couple permits. Do you know which one you're looking for? I can put up on the screen, or you have something separate?
Let me scroll through them before we both
Okay.
are doing the same button
Go
pack.
to the Speedies permit.
Right, that's exactly right. And I just want to make sure. Yeah, if you have the Speedies permit, yeah,
Is this the right, this one?
that's the one. So if you look on the it tells you all the parameters of the processing and the monitoring requirements and the monitoring of pH and temperature and concentrations of various levels. And then if you go on page 4 of the 11-page PDF, you'll see, you know, we have to track the monthly average flow, various matters. We obviously, you know, it's a septic system, so we have to track solids, pH, nitrogen, temperature, you know, 2 different ways of measuring fecal coliform and total residual chlorine, which is obviously designed to make sure that there isn't too much chlorine in the discharged water so that it doesn't negatively impact anything, the flora or fauna or anything else for that matter. And then on the next page, there are additional similar categories. And I think those are the parameters to the Speedies permit. Yep.
Brian, I don't know if you want me to address the water quality here. I understand that we just went through the Speedies permit parameters, but I don't know if the moderator clicks me on or I just clicked on mute. Apparently I'm unmuted, so.
We can hear you, Rich.
All right. Start my video. Okay, I can do that.
There you are.
Well, now everybody's scared. Did that answer your question on the water quality, or do you?
It answered my question. I think it's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, Brian did it all. Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, well, I have a resolution to read. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the application by Garden Homes for a wetland permit approval under Township Chapter 120 for relocation of a septic outfall pipe located on Route 9 within the neighborhood residential and crossroads business zoning districts. We accept the application and supporting documents as adequate for further review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public, and we classify the proposed action as unlisted under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is precluded. We are going to schedule a public hearing on the application for December 21st at 7 p.m. and direct the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof. We are going to delegate planning board members. I'll go. Who would like to go with me to see a sewage outfall pipe location?
Oh, Uncle Michael.
Okay, thank you, Edna. To conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 9, Conservation Advisory Board, we refer the application to the Conservation Advisory Board for review and written comment concerning environmental factors. And we authorize without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing or may arise based on both the above cited field visit and referrals, preparation of a working draft of an approvals resolution for the planning board's consideration on December 21st, or as may be later timely. Could I hear a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Melody.
Second, Edna.
Second. Thank you, Edna. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Brian, are you who we should be getting in touch with about the site visit?
We'll probably coordinate through our regional manager, Glenn Freer. But you can feel free to reach out to me. I know Gretchen has his contact information as well. You can reach out to both of us at
Okay.
the same time.
Very good. Well, we'll get
We'll make
out there so that we get the site visited and ready, so we're all set for the December 21st public hearing.
Terrific.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next application is Rhinebeck Performing Arts Site Plan Review.
Hi, Warren, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So as you all know, the Center for Performing Arts has been trying to keep things humming along in the current circumstances and erected a ground level exterior stage sometime in the summer or fall, and decided that it would be a good idea, even after we can gather indoors again for theatrical performances, to have an exterior stage for summer use. You know, I don't know that they'd ever have two performances at one time, but it's an alternative to the indoor theater, and at the moment it's sort of essential. So after several iterations, they decided that they'd like to rebuild the stage up a few feet off the ground and to put a roof over it, not enclose it, but at least have some protection from rain and so forth. And the thought is that people could watch performances in their cars, fanned out on the lawn, the field, really to the west of the theater. They would actually receive via Bluetooth in their vehicle audio system audio of the performers, and they'd be looking perhaps with field glasses from the back row to see people on the stage. But this is a creative effort for, again, the Performing Arts Center to find a way to continue to give performances as the weather gets cooler and less conducive, really, to outdoor activities. Initially, they had people sitting in the lawn, but apparently that didn't meet health department requirements, and now we're really not in lawn sitting weather. So this is something that, again, was initially proposed as a means of dealing with the pandemic, but their thought is, we're going to go to this trouble, they'd like to be able to use it in summers to come. So this site plan shows, again, the concept of how this would operate, be located and operate. It's not increasing traffic on the site because they would be doing this outdoors when they aren't doing things indoors. So it's an alternative venue. And the soil type, actually, as we went back and researched when the site was initially developed, is a gravelly type, actually appropriate for parking cars. There was some concern about people getting stuck in the mud, but it doesn't actually get particularly muddy there. And so this is, again, a site plan showing how it would function. All traffic would come in. The current entrance road would go to the top of the road that ends in the cul-de-sac at the residential area, turn in onto the lawn, and then exit at the bottom road. Just about everybody pre-purchases their tickets online and shows that, or their smartphone, to people as they check in. If anyone didn't pre-purchase the tickets and there were still spaces available, they would drive to the second entry at the top of the Performing Arts Center and go through some ticket purchase protocol there. But this is the site plan, and then the other drawing that Jim had up briefly is simply a plan elevation and section of the proposed stage and the open truss covering that would form a roof, again being open on three sides. So that's the basically the gist of the proposal here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this.
Warren, have you discussed this with Michelle, with the zoning enforcement officer, just in terms of, do the parking regulations for the town apply to this, since you're basically talking about a sort of a temporary situation rather than a permanent parking area for a facility? Yeah, as I'm sure you know, we don't have a definition of seasonal parking. We don't have a we haven't had to deal with this before, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Have you spoken with her about whether or not which, if any, of the parking regulations in terms of, spacing, positioning, screening, things of that sort would apply to this? Does she have any comfort level with this definition of seasonal parking, which might not require following those parking regulations?
So I've had several discussions and email changes with Michelle. She was comfortable with this entire plan. Bear in mind, this parking, which is in staggered rows to provide views of the stage, is only for the duration of performance. It's not like a parking lot where people are leaving cars for long terms. But she did not have any particular concerns about this approach and felt that we should proceed, subject, of course, to approval by the planning board.
Would this be something that once, let's say, the COVID situation's resolved, we're no longer concerned with that the Performing Arts Center would want to continue with outdoor performances as a regular aspect of their programming?
Yeah, well, I said at the outset that if it's successful, and I guess there's sort of certainly an if aspect of this, it's something they might like to consider in appropriate weather next year. I think once we don't have the distance requirements to deal with pandemic safety, they would go back to people sitting on the lawn as opposed to having vehicles arrayed across the lawn. But again, there's no thought that they would have performances in the theater and outside the theater at the same time. So it would not be increasing the volume of traffic or of parked cars on the site.
Okay. Other questions for Warren?
Seems to me
Did you have any comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Edna.
Seems to me the lawn is quite vulnerable. All you need is one wet day with cars driving onto and sitting for a while. Do you see any treatment of the lawn to prepare, or just kind of?
No, they specifically didn't want to do anything to it in terms of putting down gravel. Again, it's unlike the fairgrounds, which is fairly soft soil and grassy. And I'm sure there are different soil types in different parts of the fairgrounds, but this soil type is actually sort of a gravelly soil, sand and gravel. And it perks pretty well, and certainly did for the various septic tests that were done, deep hole tests and perk tests, and can certainly bear the weight of vehicles. But it's the sort of thing that they're not there all the time. They might be there 3 nights a week or something, and intermittently. So they're not, the performing arts folks are not concerned about damage to, again, it's not really a lawn, it's a field. But long-term damage to that, or again, people getting stuck on a regular basis, which would be also a nuisance.
What would happen in a snow situation if this was in the winter? Would you still be operational?
They've toyed with that idea, but obviously, I mean, there are issues. Yes, they have people plow the lot, and they could certainly plow an area of the field too, but it would really depend on the specifics of a forecast. I don't think anyone wants to be out there in a snowstorm, freezing rain, sleet, something, and so they very often might have to postpone particular performances if a weather forecast changed. Certainly, there's no intent to be there in a blizzard or a major storm event for the sake of the actors, who, after all, will be on an open, if covered, stage, as well as people in their cars. So there's going to have to be a certain amount of judgment exercise for the use of this in the winter season, no question about it.
How would you mark the area? How do you get cars to park so neatly?
Well, they would have, as they do, they would have people with wands basically directing them into places. That's the only way you could arrange something like this. People are very sloppy when they park, even in marked parking lots. So it would it would only be worse here unless, again, they had people showing them exactly where to park during an event.
Michael, this is Jim. I have a number of questions, I guess, for Warren. So Warren, I've reviewed this essentially assuming it's an accessory structure, I think that fits the category, kind of like a, a detached garage or something like that. And the maximum roof height is 20 feet. I took a look at your, I took a look at this, and based on what I scaled off, and I had to do it with a ruler on a computer screen, but based on what I scrolled off, it looked like it was going to be less than the 20 feet height maximum, but I didn't see that number listed on here. Could you add, that on there just to ensure that the roof height maximum is at 20 feet?
Yeah, we can. You can see the eave there is at 12. So we're not going to be above 20 feet, but we can certainly put that on there.
Yeah, just so that's clear, so we make sure that you're consistent with that. And then
Sure.
Most of my other questions really relate back to the parking on the grass. And some of these are questions, I don't know, maybe you have to talk to Michelle, or maybe you already have. But as Michael said, this parking on the grass is kind of a unique situation. And I understand certainly, in light of COVID, the necessity for doing this and even the desire to do it afterwards. But a couple things I found, I just wanted to bring to your attention right now. A few of the spaces that are kind of up at the, well, let me back up. If we're looking at this, assuming that some of the parking standards are required for any of this, then a couple of these spaces fall within 50 feet of the property line, which is not supposed to based on the code. But again, I'm not clear this isn't a parking lot. So I'm not entirely clear if those standards need to be referred to or not. And the same goes for any kind of like buffering requirements. It's not a parking lot. It's obviously temporary and for use, with this outdoor stage. You're not doing anything to the ground. But those are two items I identified. I'm just not exactly sure how to deal with those. Maybe you can talk with Michelle and figure out if that's an issue or not. And if not, then that's fine. Again, I know you're not doing anything to the ground. I just want to make sure that what we do is consistent with, the code that we have to address. But this is certainly a unique situation. And you'll get a copy of my memo notes, so you can see what I wrote.
Sure.
You talked about the grass issue, reinforcing the grass and things like that. So I won't go through that one. One of the concerns I did have is about the wellhead that's on there. I didn't see any proposal, and I don't know what's out there now. I couldn't see it on an aerial. I didn't see anything that would help, protect that from, I don't know, someone parking on it, near it, or I don't know if there's anything sticking up out of the ground, or if it's just, a cover on, that's flush to the ground or not. Just want to make sure that we don't have any issues with, vehicles in the well sitting there. Is there
we
anything
did
sticking
discuss
out
that with the operators of the Performing Arts Center, and we know we need to provide something to protect it from somebody running into it, certainly.
Okay. So there is something sticking up there.
Yes.
Then my only other comments really pertain to just the use of this, space. So assuming we can, we'll figure out, whether or not the parking standards apply or not. Obviously, I think the intent is that the parking lot's only going to be used when the outdoor stage is being used. The parking area on the grass is only going to be used when the stage is being used outdoors.
Correct.
I think it might be good to just put a note on the plans to say this is not proposed to be additional parking or anything like that for the, for this use, or if it is proposed for that, let's make sure to, discuss it in that light. But I don't believe that was the intent. Yeah, talked about the screening, and then the drive aisles that you put in here. I think, you're not going to demarcate anything, but as long as you make sure the cars are separated enough so they can get in and out without, kind of banging into each other. I was wondering if there's a need to maybe put some demarcations of some posts in the ground, just so cars know kind of where to pull up to. So you have that separation, but if you've got people out there guiding them, I think that probably suffice. And then the only other comment I had were the proposed 2 spotlights. It looked like they were proposed to shine out from the stage into the lawn. Is that true? And if so,
no.
No. Okay.
No. But we can note what they're.
I saw that. So these 2 right here. Just wanted to make sure if we're doing that,
Right.
We're taking into account any, off-site, lighting.
Of course.
consistent with
Yeah.
our lighting
Sure.
standards. And then the last comment was just related to hours of operation, because we do have residences around here, and just discussion of whether or not we want to put a note on here as to what the hours of operation would be, just so people know what's intended here.
Right. Okay.
So more questions than anything else, I guess.
Sure. No, that's very helpful.
Sorry,
Thank
but
Yeah.
just want to make sure we're checking all the boxes here. Michael, that's it for me.
Okay,
that's
thank you,
enough.
Jim. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, well, I have a resolution then. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the application by Rhinebeck Performing Arts for site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125, construction of an outdoor stage, stage roof, and other associated site improvements at 661 Route 308 in the RC5 zoning district. We accept the application and supporting documents as adequate for further review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public, and we classify their post action as type 2 under seeker. We're scheduling a public hearing on the application for January 4th at 6:35 and directing the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof. Delegating planning board members. Well, I'll go take a look. at
I'll
this. Who would
go.
like to
Delise
join
will
me?
go.
Thanks, Delise.
Yep.
I'll go. Kathy.
Too late, I'm already going. You'll
Oh,
have to go to another
darn.
one. To conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 9, Conservation Advisory Board will refer the application to the Conservation Advisory Board for review and written comment concerning environmental factors. In accordance with the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development 239 Planning Zoning Referral, we refer the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for review. We authorize without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing or may arise based on both the above cited field visits and referrals, preparation of a working draft of an approvals resolution for the planning board's consideration on January 4th, or as may be later timely. Could I hear a motion to approve, please?
So,
Ability.
Thank you, Melody. And second from Edna. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Warren, we'll get in touch with you about the site visit.
Yes.
Do try to talk, just get straight with Michelle to ensure
will.
that, she doesn't see any issues with any of the potential parking questions.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next new application is Courtney Canfield, 260 Rhinecliff Road for site plan review.
Courtney Canfield, 260 Rhinecliff.
Okay, can you tell us what you're looking to do?
Yes, I just completed a significant renovation on my home here on Rhinecliff Road. And in the course of doing that, we added a small lean-to roof off the side of the garage and didn't realize that it was not properly permitted with the rest of the project. And it's basically just the foundation you see there. There are 3 piers under that, 3 beams and a rafter and a asphalt shingle roof. Just a small shed roof is what it is. And it's I've been to the pre-planning, and it's also gone to Michelle's looked at it in terms of any variance or anything required, and deemed that it does not necessary.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Canfield? Jim, did you have any comment you wish to make?
Just had one quick question for you, Mr. Canfield. I saw on the plan here, let me rotate it around. Give me 1 second. The only thing that I noticed on the plans that seem to be drawn on here, I don't know if that was done with this project or if it's done with something else, was the retaining wall.
Yes.
Off the edge of this. Was that existing or is that new?
No, that was put in as part of this, and just to control the drainage. In the past, it's kind of run down there. So what I did was just put some of those temporary, like the concrete blocks in there, put some drainage in behind there, had new topsoil brought in, and then seeded it. And it's to prevent any runoff.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I think that's honestly, that's it for me, Michael.
Okay, thank
What's
you, Jim.
what's the setback there?
The setback is about 19 feet from the property line.
Yeah, Michelle wrote a determination stating that a variance wasn't needed, even though we did have that listed in the application originally in the paperwork we have in front of us.
Any other questions from members of the planning board? Okay, well, I have a resolution. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the application by Courtney Canfield for site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125, construction of an addition to an existing garage at 260 Rhinecliff Road within the RM1 zoning district. Accept the application and supporting documents as adequate for further review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public. And we're classifying the proposed action as type 2 under seeker. We're scheduling a public hearing for the application on January 4th at 6:40 PM and directing the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause the noticing and posting thereof. We're delegating planning board members.
I'll go, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Who would like to join Sharon on this?
I will join Sharon.
Thank you, Edna. To conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 9, Conservation Advisory Board, refer the application to the Conservation Advisory Board for review and written comment concerning environmental factors. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 118, Waterfront Advisory Committee, refer the application to the Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and written comment concerning consistency with the LWRP. And in accordance with the Dutchess County Department of Planning 239 zoning referral, we refer the application to Dutchess County Planning and Development for review. And we authorize without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing or may arise based on both the above cited field visit or referral, preparation of a working draft of an approvals resolution for the town board's consideration on January 4th, or as may be later timely. Could I hear a motion to approve, please?
So moved,
So
Edna.
moved.
Thank
Second,
you,
Sharon.
Edna. Second, Sharon. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. All righty. Sharon and Edna will be getting in touch with you about scheduling the site visit.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. We have one more new application. Michael Chambers, 59 Valley Way Road Site Plan Review.
Good evening. This is Kyle Diamond from New Dimension Construction. On the call also is Michelle, the architect, as well as I believe the Chambers are on the call also. Basically, what we are proposing to do at the moment, let's move the site plan up here. This personal garden is in use at the moment. That is the only thing that is on site, correct? The property previously had a home on it. It was in very poor condition, so that was removed about a year and a half ago or so. That was permitted, and I did send the confirmation that that permit was closed out. I sent that to Gretchen this afternoon. What you're seeing here as well is that there was an approved septic system for a much larger home that had been received and approved by the Board of Health. What we were doing is obviously modifying that approval. Much smaller home, only 2 bedrooms is being proposed here. Therefore, we have a much smaller septic system. So we are staying within the boundaries of the original approval that has been already submitted to the Board of Health. We're just awaiting, they had some comments, and so we need to make some replies to them. I think some of the concerns that we discussed at our pre-application meeting was the water that does flow down from behind the property. So we've shown the curtain drain on here. We've also submitted a full topographic plan in addition to what you see here as well. So that is, in essence, that is the proposal for site plan review here.
Okay. Any questions from members of the planning board?
I have a question.
Yes.
This will not be an accessory dwelling since there is not currently a primary dwelling. So I am assuming that while this may be called or used as a guest cottage, it will actually be a primary dwelling.
That is correct. And it is being permitted as such.
Great.
Yeah, this is Michelle Drollet. Just one clarification item to note. The agenda notes that it's 59 Valleyway Road. This site location is actually 30 Valleyway Road. It's right. It's a couple houses down, but just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Jim, did you have a question or two?
Yep. So I did have a couple questions. See if I can go through them in a logical order here. So I saw on this sheet where you're showing the proposed residence in the deck, there are these 3 boxes out here that I didn't see on the topography map or the existing site plan. I just want to know if that's something needs to be labeled or what that might be.
Those are the proposed air conditioning units and potential future backup generator.
Oh, okay. Can you put a label on that just to note that so that we know what they are in the future? So that's that one. Cal, is there any way you could put a bulk table on here, just detailing the measurements? We're in, kind of the Rhine Cliff area. Just noting, I think you meet all the setbacks and obviously the coverages, but being a smaller site, it'd be good just to have the numbers on there. So what the requirements are, just with what you're actually showing.
Absolutely.
Coverages and things like that. And then 2 questions. The first one, let's see if I can find it. I think it was in this plan set. You showed a 4-inch pipe going into the woods in the rear of the property, I believe. I'm not sure which plan that was on. Oh, this one right here. This is the 4-inch perforated pipe. That appeared to be going through the woodlands back there. I was just curious if you're planning a lot of tree clearing for that, or if it's going to just kind of be cut and dropped in.
Yeah, as my understanding in speaking with David Ryder, the engineer, about this, this really is more or less a curtain drain, French drain. So we're just going to be, we'll be selectively trenching through the woods to provide this this drainage. So should not require any major excavation or tree removal. Certainly, the chambers would not be in favor of that.
Okay. Sounds good. And then the only other question I had was actually regarding the basement, the walkout basement stairs. I didn't see anything related to any kind of grading change to put the stairs in. Is there a grading change that's going to be needed? Because if so, we'd probably we need to show that on the plans. But if the grading isn't going to change or it's part of the original digging for the foundation, then maybe it's not necessary. I was just wondering if you could clarify what the plans are for those.
Sure, we can certainly take a look at that. The land is actually pretty flat where we've located this home presently. But yes, absolutely, Jim. If it looks like we're going to need to do that, I'll talk with David about that as well.
Okay. I think, Michael, that was it for me. Just a couple of questions and clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, well, I have another resolution. Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows in the application by Michael Chambers for site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 for construction of a house at 30 Valleyway Road within the RL5 Residential Low Density Zoning District. Planning Board accepts the application and supporting documents as adequate for further review by the Planning Board, its advisors, and the public, and classifies the proposed action as Type 2 under seeker. We're scheduling a public hearing on the application for January 4th at 6:45, and we're directing the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof. We're going to delegate Planning Board members who hasn't had an opportunity to go on a site visit.
I'll go.
Melody?
Sharon?
I'll go.
I'll go.
Sharon and Melody?
No, Sharon and Kathy.
Sharon and
Okay.
Kathy? Okay.
Okay.
To conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 9, Conservation Advisory Board, refer the application to the Conservation Advisory Board for review and written comment concerning environmental factors. and in accordance with Town Code Chapter 118, Waterfront Advisory Committee, refer the application to the Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and written comment concerning consistency with the LWRP. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 125, Section 12562, refer the application to the Historic Archaeological Preservation Advisory Committee for review and written comment concerning historic and/or archaeological elements. And according to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, 239 Planning Zoning Referral, refer to the Dutchess County Planning Department for review and refer the application to the Dutchess County Department of Health for review and approval of the proposed septic system. Be authorized without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing or may arise based on both the above cited field visit and referrals, preparation of a working draft of an approvals resolution for the planning board's consideration on January 4th, or as may be later timely. Could I hear a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Edna.
Second,
Thank you,
Sharon.
Edna. Second? Thank you, Sharon. All in
Sharon.
favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, you'll get in touch with Sharon and Kathy about the site visit.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more item on the old agenda, which is a referral from our zoning enforcement officer based upon our new historic structures law, Kevin Miller, to advise whether his application should be referred to the Historic Archaeological Preservation Advisory Committee. I must have sort of missed this one because let me see, submitted a building permit to construct an existing deck attached to the residence. The property is within the National Historic Landmark District and has been referred to the planning board for determination of whether the application should be referred to the WAPAC. Okay.
Michael, I put the plans up on here. It appears that the proposal is to replace an existing deck, as far as I can tell.
Okay. Well, well,
If it's not changing, I mean, if it's just replacing an existing deck and there's no additional elevation or changes, I don't really think it needs to be referred. But Kathy, what are your thoughts?
I agree. That's exactly what I was about to say. I'll refer it to the committee if you want, but I think that will be the reaction.
yeah.
So this is existing and this is proposed. They're not quite overlapping each other in terms of the scale, but I believe that they're exactly the same footprint.
Yeah. I can't see a reason to refer it.
Yeah, and they're even calling it deck repair.
Yeah.
Then I would think perhaps by consensus, I don't know if we need a resolution to, in the view of the planning board, this application does not require referral to the HAPAC.
Correct.
Agreed.
Could I hear a motion, Kathy?
Moved.
That's motion. Could I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, well, we have a Kathy. Kathy did the motion, Sharon did the second.
Correct.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 So we will return this resolution to Michelle to let her know we do not believe it needs to be referred to the HAPAC.
Great.
Okay, well, that's all I have on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything else prior to our final meeting of the year on December 21st?
No.
Okay, could I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Melody.
And Edna.
Second? Thank you, Edna. All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. Thank you all very much.